from the very first class and the very first clatter of the leather from my leg when I kicked the pad, I thought, I want to be Irish champion. And that's all I was thinking about from the very first time. And it was the noise, it was the sweat, it was the clashing of the leather, it was the lads screaming when they were hitting the pads, it was the sparring, it was the gum shields, it was the pads, everything just spoke out to me, and I was just like, I felt like I was in a Rocky movie, you know.
Yeah.
And I just, from that moment, all I thought about was, I want to be Irish champion. I want to fight the best in the country, and I want to make it all the way up the ranks and fight for the Irish title. And I did. And in 2013, I fought the most terrific fight of my career. And then I went into the 5th round of a fight that I was winning, and I was knocked unconscious in the last minute of the last round. Like, really badly knocked unconscious. Did not know where I was for an hour and a half afterwards. And that was, even though I fought after that time, it was actually just, I hadn't built up that resilience to the point where I could take something like that and move forward from it in the same light. I moved forward and I fought on again afterwards, but I didn't have the same, there was not the same passion or love for the sport. I remember going home to my mum and bawling my eyes out into her arms. It was highly concussed and just really, really felt like I actually almost personified the sport, and I thought that it was like, I felt like it was a person that was after taking something from me, you know.
You felt like you lost your moment.
Absolutely.
That was it. And
I had lost. I had basically poured so much into this over the last 4 years that it didn't become my sport, it became my identity.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very dangerous thing, because you should never let anything, regardless of what it is. I don't think that ultra running is the only aspect of my life now, even though that's how most people are coming to know me, as this ultra marathon runner. I don't want to put myself into this thing of, that's my identity. I want to be all things, you know. I want to be a friend, I want to be a son, I want to be a brother, I want to be, you know, I want to be an ultra marathon runner, I want to be a mental health advocate, I want to be all of the things. And I don't want to allow myself to come into a situation again where I'm so dependent on a sport for my own self-worth that is my entire identity. And when I lost that fight, I felt like my identity was gone. I felt like Conor the Thai boxer didn't exist anymore. And it took me an awful long time to build back up from that. I stepped in the ring a few more times after that. I had a few wins and I had a few losses, and my last fight in Ireland, again, I actually cut too much weight. I went down a weight class where I was already struggling to make weight. I went down again. Entered a fight incredibly dehydrated and was knocked unconscious in the 2nd round. And hit with a shot that I probably would have eaten in sparring.
Yeah.
Only I hadn't given myself enough care to realise that I was fighting too light. I dehydrated myself too much, and it was just too much for my body to handle. And after that, I had kind of, it was like a breakup with a girlfriend. Yeah. It was like, we're done, you know. And it was kind of like, I made the bad decisions. I made the bad decisions by saying, okay, I can barely make 72.5 kilos, but now I'm going to fight at 69.5 kilos, going to go around half a stone in weight. And that's going to make this better.
So were you kind of fighting with yourself, saying, no, I'm going to go lighter so I know I'll win, kind of thing?
It was more like, it was an opportunity arose at 69.5 kilos to fight the best guys.
Yeah.
It was, my trainer was actually putting on an 8-man tournament to get the 8 best guys in the country at 69.5 kilos. And he basically asked me, would I represent the gym?
Right.
And I said, yeah, of course. I actually made the final, and that's when I got knocked out. And I was like, yet again, so close to touching a belt, you know, to touching a title, you know, and having that success. And that's the way I was thinking about it back then, that I was like, you know, just falling short every time. When I you know, that wasn't really the way that I should have thought about it. When I really thought about it, I should have said, no, I'm already struggling to make weight at this weight, you know. But I was so desperate for success. Yeah. I was so desperate for, if I had won that belt, it was my rebirth. It was my renaissance in Thai boxing. So that's what was the allure. It wasn't the love of the sport. It was, I want to have success in my life again. And by life I mean Thai boxing. And that was the link. There was no life without it. So when I had success in it, it made my life better.
Yeah.
You know?
So when you look back at it all now, what has been your biggest learnings or takeaways from that?
Basically that no action has no motive is a huge thing. So lots of different aspects of my life have been attributed to other parts of it.
Yeah.
So from even joining Thai boxing was my coach had actually come to Christians because he went to Christians as well.
Yeah.
He come to Christians to do a class with us with PE. I got involved with the class. He said, "Oh, you've got a bit of you're fairly good at this." Because I'd done Taekwondo, I knew how to throw a punch, I knew how to throw a kick or whatever. And he said, "Oh, you should come up." I didn't actually come up for 6 months because I kind of was a bit afraid because it was new and new territory, and I didn't really know whether I wanted to go up there or not. And I was doing that because I was searching for the success of my life, and that's what drove me to do that. What drove me to drop weight was because I was looking for the success to keep from the year previous when I was knocked unconscious. And all of these things were motivating me, but it was never for the, let's say, the right reasons.
Yeah.
It was never for self-fulfillment. It was never for my happiness. It was more for just to have a place to be, just to have a place where I could be myself. And the past has taught me an awful lot about the way that I have lived. And I suppose out of all of everything, what I have learned the most, and this is definitely the biggest piece that I have taken, is to be compassionate with myself. I was always, throughout the whole thing, before I found Thai boxing years ago now, from primary school, secondary school, into my leaving cert, into everywhere, I was so hard on myself. So hard on myself. I had such a negative inner dialogue. The way I talked to myself, I would never talk to anyone else. I would never talk to another person the way that I would talk to myself, saying that I was crap at, you're terrible at school, you're terrible at rugby, you're terrible at this, you're terrible at that. Even if I was getting high scores, I would be saying, in school, or if I was, if I played well in a rugby match, I could have done this, that, and the other. If I fought well, and everybody was patting my back, going, "Conor, oh, well done, it was class, it was a great fight," and I was like, lads, I didn't even know if I was going to win. At the end of it, whereas everybody else saw it as a clear victory for me. I would have thought, Jesus, I don't know if I've done enough. I was always hard on myself. I never allowed myself to feel proud about myself. It was one of the reasons as well when I got back from Kilimanjaro, it disappeared, because I never allowed myself, because I was always trying to put myself up on this pedestal of achievement. And I never got an opportunity to kind of say, what, well done, boy. Well done, you've actually done you've done something great. You trained well for that fight, and you fought well, and you won the fight. I never allowed myself to kind of go like that. It was just like, right, okay, next fight. Next fight. I have to work on this. I'm not going to get caught with this shot again. And that was just a negative build-up in everything. And if I continued in that vein, I'd never be able to do anything again. I'd never be able I never would have been able to have the successes in ultra that I've had. Because I never would have been able to show the compassion of myself and change my inner dialogue.
So do you think it just comes back to self-love and self-connection and
accepting
you for who you are at that moment in time?
Absolutely. I even going through my life, people would think, looking on the outside, I've always been a fairly outgoing, chatty guy, you know what I mean? Always have been, really. And I've always pushed myself into doing different things and trying to achieve different things, like Kilimanjaro, like fighting for Irish titles, like, doing my law degree and all that kind of stuff, pushing myself to achieve these things. And everyone would have thought, Jesus, he's this outgoing, successful guy. Whereas inside my mind, I was always never doing enough. Whereas if I actually thought back in it and actually gave myself the love and the compassion that I would give to other people, it would have actually been able. I would have been able to foster a better life and have more successes and have more happiness, because I never allowed. I had so many down times in the lead up to try and achieve these goals
Yeah.
where I'd be fighting with my girlfriend all the time because I was training too much, and I would never go out for dinners and all that kind of stuff because I couldn't eat what they were eating, what was on the menu.
Yeah.
I'd never go drinking with my friends. I didn't go on a leaving cert holiday. I didn't go to college balls or rag week or freshers week or anything like that. I never gave myself a break. I never gave myself that time where I said, you know what, I'll take a bit of a break from fighting there now for a couple of months and enjoy myself. I go off to EOS with the lads or something like that. I never gave myself a break. And I never gave myself that time to kind of reflect and go, Jesus, Conor, well done.
Yeah.
And if I had that, if I had the compassion and I had the love that I have for other people and for my family or whatever the case may be, and I showed that to myself, I think I would have had an awful lot easier time, basically keeping myself in a state where I felt good about myself and I felt happy.
What would you say to, I suppose, if there's any teenagers or anything like that watching this now and they kind of feel like they were in that same boat where they just feel they're not good enough. They feel like they can't do anything. They feel stuck.
Chances
What would you say to them?
Chances are, if you look back on your life, there's probably plenty of evidence there. If we're talking about the evidence again, plenty of evidence there of times in your life where you did something good. And you probably didn't think about it in that way. I never thought about the Kilimanjaro climb as something really, really good, even though, it was for charity. We went up, climbed the highest mountain in Africa. I never really thought about what I had done in that way. But there's probably times in your life where you've had that success where you might have won, let's say, like the under 13 county soccer championship or whatever the case may be. And you sometimes you don't think about these things, but these quote unquote small victories are huge victories because they build on themselves. If the way I've been talking to people now is I've got a 3-letter saying, TFS, and it stands for that first step. And that first step is different for everybody. That could be just getting up in the morning is the first step, but it's about stacking those steps and stacking the little wins. What I would say to people, if especially young people that are listening to this, is there are going to be many, many people that are going to be very tough on you throughout your life. And they're going to say some not so nice things and are going to try and marginalize you and make you feel bad about yourself. Don't let it be you. Don't let it be yourself that does that. There's going to be plenty of people to do that. But if you can be okay in your own mind and say the right things in your own mind, you're bulletproof against all the other aspects of life and all the other people in life. I write an awful lot and I put an awful lot out. I actually wrote poetry as well and put the poetry out. It was the one element of writing that it was the last barrier. It was the last piece of my writing. I really loved sharing my articles and my stories and stuff like that. And I really liked that because I was comfortable sharing that. But some of the poetry that I had, I wasn't comfortable. And when I shared the poetry, I got negative comments on from people I don't know on Instagram. And I really had to think, I really kind of, I actually enjoyed the process because I had been thinking so